Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 7 of Season 60 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. It is the 4th time this season that drivers will take to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. 2 weeks from tonight, we will be back at this venue with the final playoff positions left. So 3 races, including tonight, left in the regular season. Some drivers have already locked themselves into the playoffs. Other drivers, they're looking to move their way up in points. And after last week, we saw Ken Roberts finally snap that 5-season winless streak, get back to victory lane, but he's got a lot of work to do here tonight as well. We'll bring you up to speed on all those stories, but I'm being joined up here in the booth by Michael Norman. Michael, nice to have you back, and I mean, it's getting down to crunch time. 3 races left. Seems like a lot of time maybe for the spectator, but for a driver, panic could be starting to set in if you're way down there in the point standings.
Yeah, right about now, you're trying to get the best finishes you can, try to gain all those points that you can to try to get up in the point standings here. But Seth, it's difficult to do that when, all the guys that are in the top 10 in points, top 15 in points, they end up racing and finishing high up in the positions, winning races, top 10s, just finishing there. So it's very, very difficult for them to gain any type of position unless one of them or most of them have a mistake.
Yeah, and, we've talked about it here during the course of the season. We've had really good field sizes, but to your point, those that consistently are consistent, it's very difficult for drivers to have really any other opportunity than to try to win their way into a playoff position. We've had 5 drivers so far this season take checkered flags. Brian Schilling is the only driver that's a multi-time winner, and last season I should say, people will remember Jeremy Jeffries here at this very venue went back-to-back 3 straight starts, 3 straight checkered flags. Well, Brian Schilling currently has had back-to-back victories here at BSR, so maybe for the 2nd straight season, we could see a driver get 3 in a row at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, but there's going to be a big pack of drivers that he's going to have to work against. I believe we've got 37 drivers set to take the green flag here tonight, so will be a tall task for driver number 4. We've got good battling for the points lead coming into tonight. We've got good battling in the brackets here. We're going to bring you up to speed on all of that. But first, let's give you your starting lineup for tonight's race. Of course, based off of random qualifying, that kind of randoms up where the pit stalls are going to be. Always an X factor when it comes to this style of racing. It's Mark Paglia who draws the pole position here tonight. He is going to be alongside of Jerm Lewis in the front row. Doug Kulik and John Godfrey, they'll be in row number 2.
Then
row
me.
3. No, then you. Yeah. Moving on. Then in the 3rd row, Denny Carroll, going to be alongside of Cy Jones. Josh Metallic and Randy Waugh, they'll be in row 4. And the top 10 will be completed with JT Mayhew and Jessica Shelton. Richard Martin, he'll be alongside of Dante Ricky in row number 6. Rodney Sullins, who won the first race in the season right here at BSR, he's going to share row 7 with Bernie Mobbs. Row 8 finds Bob Dixon alongside of Billy Elliser. Row 9 with Kelly Causey and Glenn Harris. And then the top 20 completed by Hank Middleton and Jeremy Jeffries. Back in row 11 will be Jeff Crivello and Greg Palmer. Joe DeSpirito and Bob Seminaire, a couple of the Florida gang drivers. They'll be back in row number 12. Row 13, Terry Bombard alongside of Jason Scheck. Row 14 will be Wiley Coate, and he'll be alongside of Brian Lovell, making his first start on the season in the 043. Mike Mangialardi, he'll be back in row 15. He's joined by Craig Hagley. Row 16, Grant Wesley back in the field here tonight. He missed last week. We'll be talking about his point situation as a result. He's alongside of Chris Emery. We mentioned Brian Schilling looking for 3 straight victories here at Burnt Screwdrivers Race. Well, he's going to have to do it all the way back in row 13 alongside of Tim Nofsker. Those two drivers very deep in the field. Tom Dixon's going to be alongside of last week's winner, Ken Roberts. They are back in row number 18. And in the final row, 37th place, is scored Doug Maluski. I believe Maluski, is he on the grid tonight in the 25? No, he is not. Maluski normally is in during the practice sessions and normally then has to leave prior to the race session, but he has scored that he would roll off the grid in the 37th position. If you're keeping track of the bracket series on the winners side, we are down to our Elite 8. We've got 4 1v1 battles that'll be taking place here this evening. Those would include Joe DeSpirito taking on Richard Martin, Brian Schilling against Bernie Mobbs, Josh Metallic taking on Jessica Shelton, and Chuck McClure versus Tim Nofsker. 4 very highly contested battles that we'll keep track on during the course of the night. 66 laps, the usual 66 laps of racing on tap here this evening under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway as Mark Paglia leads us to green.
Wake me up before you go, go, go.
And Paglia, I don't know if he spun the tires or if he was going to plan to get out of Dodge and move to the apron, but he was very low there at the start-finish line. Gets a great jump, going to clear the outside line, as will the 23 of Doug Kulik and maybe the 21 of Randy Waugh.
Got a really, really good start there. I'm surprised these trucks haven't eaten them up yet, but we'll see what happens. They go right up to the middle lane here. And Seth, before we really get into a lot of things, I would like you to give us the backstory on the pace scheme behind that 043.
Well, the backstory, there's not a backstory necessarily, but it is kind of funny because we saw that this truck was submitted into the car pack last week. Brian Lovell was not in the field last week, as we know. But it was kind of ironic because during a Fortnite session, a friend of ours, Dylan Young, brought up WD-40 in a comical way, and what do you know? The following week, the following race, there's a truck that's ready to run an RTG race sponsored by WD-40. So it was a huge sense of irony. Got a truck on the wall.
Almost did, yeah.
I think we had a couple trucks in the wall there. I think John Godfrey got it off of 2, and who was that up behind him? Denny Carroll, I think, in the 41, followed him in. Fortunately, there wasn't a major checkup leading to a wreck there off of turn 2.
It's very strange. I see a 31 truck, and it's not Dylan Poteet.
Yes.
Battle for the lead up here, side by side. Dante Ricky trying to get the lead. 28, Mark Paglia behind him. Almost looked like he wanted to go 3 wide, but Seth, we always talk about it. When these trucks go 3 wide, it really kills that middle lane momentum.
It definitely does, and we've seen this all the course of this season, a good portion of last season. The drivers have even remarked on it as well and have tried to do different things to compensate for that, to keep that middle line momentum going. But we'll see with John Godfrey leading that third line, if Dante Ricky, Mark Paglia, and others, if they can keep that middle line up here in contention. I think there's only, 7 trucks right now in that middle line back to Hank Middleton in the 2.
Side by side for second place, 3 by 3. That's killing the middle lane's momentum right now. You see the bottom lane getting a lot of it right now as the 20. I thought I saw the 22 back there get a little loose, 022. But that's going to give the 21 the lead with Jessica Shelton right behind him.
Shelton going to move into second. Bernie Mobbs going to look to move into third. And now it's 3 wide for the 4th position. It's almost as if both the middle and outside line stalled and gave a huge advantage to the trucks that were lined up on the bottom.
Jess really wanted to, I don't know if she pushed up or she was thinking about the middle lane there, but right now with it being 3 wide like that, you do not want to go up there.
Talked about the 8 drivers battling on the winner's side of the bracket challenge, facing off against each other tonight. How about the battle for the points lead coming into this evening? 8 points separate the top 3. Joe DeSpirito, 7 back to Brian Schilling, 8 back to Jeremy Jeffries. And we know that Brian Schilling started very deep in the field. Jeffries and DeSpirito started mid-pack, so none of those 3 really got good starting track position here this evening. But we've seen it before, and I'm sure we'll see it here. in the early going with those 3 drivers. Usually the best drivers are able to start at the back, get them way up to the front, and sometimes it only takes them 10 laps or less. So I see just both Despirito and Schilling down the inside line there. I think there are 9th and 10th trucks on the inside line, trying to find that Busch beer, the Halloween Busch beer themed truck. I think he's 5th truck there in the middle line, the one of Jeremy Jeffries. They're all about to crack the top 15 here.
Never make that noise again.
It's what the sponsor is, though. It's not a noise. It's a word. If you look at his truck, it is literally BOO. It might be 3 O's. I don't know, and then SCH. Ooh.
It's like the Experian Boost.
I was not ready for that. That was good. Randy Waugh out in front, showing the way here in that 21. To my knowledge, Randy Waugh has never had a Talladega Challenge victory, but
Randy,
looking very good.
I will pay you money to legally change your last name to Waluigi.
No, wait, me or him?
No, Randy.
Oh, Randy?
Randy Waluigi.
Well, Randy Waugh with the Alabama sponsorship there. I believe it's the Alabama college team, and I'm sorry, I'm not a college football aficionado, so I don't really know who the college team is for Alabama. Makes sense with that sponsorship where we're at last week and are going to next week at Talladega, being in Alabama. But we're here in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Wow, you call yourself a journalist up here, commentator. Don't even know. I mean, you have access to Google right now.
Racing journalist, not a sports journalist, not a football journalist. The Dodge is looking good again. Last week, we ended up having a point where there were about 5 or 6 Dodges up inside the top 10 consistently. And the Dodges are up here once more. You've got a Dodge leading the race in Randy Waugh. Bernie Mobbs lined up there in 3rd, and Brian Lovell in that 043 that we remarked on making his first start in the season. There you see him 5th on the inside line, was scored 6th last time by at the start-finish line. So the Dodge Rams doing a great job again here tonight. Of course,
last time by.
Well, my scoring hadn't updated yet, so yeah. Now it's got him scored in 7th place. And remember, too, Dodge has got 2 victories this season, both courtesy of the Square D Dodge Ram of Brian Schilling. So Dodge has stepped out, I think, here this season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Got to watch that middle lane, though, because here you can see that the 3rd lane broke up, so that middle lane's going to have the momentum again.
That is Bob Seminaris.
Somebody coming down pit road.
Hank Middleton. Hank Middleton in the 2. Got it right this week. I mistaken his Monster Energy sponsorship for Nate Balser last week, but got it correct this week, and this has to be unscheduled. I think he may have actually just retired out of the race.
Let's see.
Dorian hasn't updated, but you could probably check that for me.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Says retired, taking that truck behind the wall.
Not certain what that's about, but he'll get credited for 35th. That means there's another driver that didn't take the green flag here tonight.
45.
Besides Tom Dixon. Okay. So Dixon and Maluski were the did not starts in tonight's grid as Lemonera tried that middle line, and now the 3rd line is coming back up. Got a couple of Halloween-themed trucks up there. We already remarked about Jeremy Jeffries, but also Rodney Sells. Oh, no, that's Glenn Harris around. Big
that's
wreck.
Their field. That's going to be, oh, my Lord, there are multiple trucks flipping.
We've got one upside down. I think that was Doug Hewlick in the 23.
They're still flipping. The 23 is still flipping,
Lovell
as well
is up
as
and over.
Saw the 043.
And there were about a dozen trucks that just came to a complete stop. 23 is still not flipped over. Now it is.
Metallic involved. Station check. Pagley, our pole sitter. Emery, possibly. Craig Hagley.
Hard to tell with a lot of these drivers because they just came to a dead stop to make sure they weren't involved. Trying to cycle through, see about damage sustained to any of these drivers here. There's the truck that got out of shape to start this, Glenn Harris.
Whoa, and we have a problem here. John Godfrey just got rear-ended by Billy Elliser.
Saved it, did not come up the racetrack, fortunately.
I was also just informed that pit road is closed unless they absolutely have to pit. They're trying to get everyone lined up.
Like the 55, last week's winner, Ken Roberts. That might have been another of the flipping trucks because he's got some roof damage there. A lot of right side damage.
Yeah, that definitely started with the 8.
And that puts Ken Roberts in a bit of a bind. I mentioned we were going to be talking about his situation, and we'll do that after we come back from looking at the replay. But remember, Ken Roberts, yeah, he's going to victory lane. That's the first box checked, but he is not in the top 20 in the point standing, so he still has some work to do consistency-wise to get himself up there inside of the top 20 for that win to count towards a playoff berth.
Oh yeah,
When
so go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say when Ken Roberts got his last win back in season 55, he did make the playoffs. That was his first appearance in the playoffs. He has not been there since.
Oh, and the 55 was also one of the trucks that did flip over.
Yeah, it looked like
I'm
with
looking
that
at the
roof
replay
damage, I'm not
now, it looks
surprised.
like a bad bump in a tri-oval by Dante Ricky sent the 8 of Glenn Harris down into the 26. 26 just had really nowhere, nothing he could have done different.
A couple of trucks that got very lucky there, I noticed. Tim Nofsker and Brian Schilling, when we go back and look at another angle, watched those two trucks, and I think there were a couple of others down the inside line. I think they bumper grabbed and it shot them down to the inside wall with all that runoff, so they actually were not involved in any of the carnage that happened up on the racing surface. Focus on the 55 of Ken Roberts if we can, and the 043 of Brian Lovell.
I'm not even sure how the 8 didn't flip over from that.
He didn't get much damage in all of that either. Doug Hewlick, though, spent a long time on his roof.
He did get hit by the 616 pretty hard in the back quarter panel.
Brian Lovell, his truck comes back down all four wheels, and I think the 23, yeah, the 23 of Hewlick actually got an assistance from Brian Schilling to get back on all four wheels. Man,
right on board. I'm gonna ride on board with some onboard cameras here and let you know.
Watch this again. The 23 of Doug Hewlick, nowhere to go. 43 catches there. I think Paglia actually, I think the back end of his truck came up off the ground. Terry Bombard spun around. Wiley Coate got a piece. John Godfrey was in it. Mentioned Jerem Lewis getting involved.
Wow, if you can, ride on board with the 7 of Cy Jones.
Look at what Cyber saw from the Sunoco Chevrolet. He was back around the 27th position as we take the in-truck onboard.
Hello, Milt, by the way. I just saw your comment in our live stream chat.
Maybe a little front-end damage there for the 7 getting into the back of the 5 of Wiley Coate, but not much. Minimal damage, as we would say. Maybe just a scratch. I don't think it would affect him aero-wise or anything. And we'll see if we can now find what happened with John Godfrey and
yeah, that was
Billy Elliser under
I think
pacing.
Billy might have just mistimed his brake to slow down. Because it definitely looked like he locked his brakes up when he slid into the back of him.
That would have been really bad going into the entrance of a corner. Watch here as the 711 starts to spin back up towards the field here going into 3, but fortunately right there, the right rear tire catches the banking, that transition, the yellow line, gets him to straighten it out, and he continues on. Pits were open. Looks like most everybody was down pit road, so we'll reshuffle everything here as we come back to live action. I think a couple of trucks might have actually stayed out. Billy Elliser might have stayed out in the 26, taking maybe the EOL penalty for the incident we just saw there under caution. Jason Scheck in the 33 also staying out, and that should turn the race lead over if they pit this time back to the 21 of Randy Waugh, who has led 10 laps so far.
Wow, Luigi.
Little update again on the Ken Roberts situation. Officially coming into tonight, Ken is 26th in the point standings. He is 21 points outside of 20th in overall points. So he needs to get up above that cut line for his victory last week to count towards a playoff position. He is one of two drivers right now that would have to rely on the win wild card, I guess you could call it, to be able to get into the playoffs. Chuck McClure right now, the other, as he is 17th in points, being inside the top 20. His victory would count towards a playoff position. But for Ken Roberts, for that damage we saw him sustain there, he's going to have to hope that this is a race of attrition, because sometimes NR can be finicky with what looks like race-ending damage or something that's going to have you majorly off the pace and you're able to still stay up in the draft. But from first glance, I don't see how that truck's going to be able to stay up here and be competitive. He's going to need a lot of the drivers around him in the point standings, like Wiley Coate or Terry Bombard or Hank Middleton, to have issues. Middleton's out of the race. Doug Hewlick, who was ahead of him in points, is badly damaged as well, so he needs a little bit more help. He could potentially still point his way into the top 20 tonight, but the early damage he just sustained makes it chances, I don't want to say slimmer, but not great. Granted, he's got 2 more races to work with. The lights out atop the pace truck. We'll get ready to go back green. Randy Waugh, the race leader. Jeremy Jeffries will line up in second. Third place, Bob Seminara. Jessica Shelton will be fourth, and Rodney Sullins will complete the top 5. Bernie Mobbs will be sixth. Greg Palmer, 7th. Kelly Causey, Grant Wesley, and Joe DeSpirito. They will complete the top 10.
Now, Seth, where would you want to be in this on this restart?
Inside line.
Think inside lane, or do you think, depending on how the outside lane gets a restart, I would say that unless the third lane forms, the outside lane would quickly overtake the inside.
Well, the thing is, and this is one of the consistencies between Burt Screwdrivers Raceway and Talladega, the inside line on starts and restarts through 1 and 2 is the advantage line. We've seen, obviously, at Talladega, the middle line's usually the better line, and obviously here, the middle line is good until the third line gets forming, but on restarts, since it is the shorter way around the racetrack and everybody's just getting back up to speed, inside line is the preferred lane going through 1 and 2.
All right, a green flag is back out. We're back underway, and it almost looks like the outside lane got a better jump.
They did. That was interesting. Jeremy Jeffries is going to clear Randy Waugh. Might have been caught napping the 21 truck. Jessica Shelton almost had Randy Waugh cleared there as well.
Is there a penalty for beating the leader to the line?
I'm honestly not sure. I mean, now Randy Waugh's starting to battle back here again. It's, as long as you're on the outside line, I don't think you get penalized for passing the truck that's to your inside.
We talked about third lane, and they immediately formed it.
Kelly Causey moving up there. Joe DeSpirito. Their pole sitter Mark Paglia there. Glenn Harris. Ryan Lovell, who was up in the air. Had kind of, well, no, actually that truck did actually flip onto its roof after some contact between himself and
we've got only 4 trucks right now. Everybody else is staying towards the middle lane, so the outside lane should probably begin to fall back just a little bit. But Seth, we talked about, we don't talk much about tires at a restrictor plate track. And so being on the inside lane, doesn't that wear your tires slightly out more to where you're actually pushing up towards that middle lane on corner exit?
Believe it or not, it actually doesn't wear the tires. It does obviously affect the tire heat, which leads to the push-up that you're describing. But no, really, depending on whichever line you run, inside line, middle line, outside line, the tire wear is really even. Very rarely during a green flag pit stop, no matter what line they've been running in, will you see a driver take on tires. They might maybe take on left side tires if they smoke it coming in and lock up the front brakes, but usually Goodyears are not on the agenda when they're making green flag pit stops.
Third lane trying to get formed up again, but it's again, like you said, Seth, the inside lane. And Seth, we talk about him a lot when it comes to starting position, as he's not usually that great at getting a random qualifying, but look who is, I believe, the 5th car in that inside lane.
Yeah, and remember I mentioned too, when we went off the starting lineup, Grant Wesley was not in the field last week. Had obligations, was not in state, and was unable to take part, so he dropped in the point standings to 13th in overall points. He did get provisional points, however, so he's trying to work his way either to a checkered flag for a wild card position or easily with where he's running right now, could point his way back up into the top 10. And it was interesting, too, because I mentioned this last week. The Ken Roberts situation. He's got a victory, but now he's got to work his way up into the top 20 at least. And I recalled back to the season Grant Wesley won his first championship. Remember, he ended up missing, 2 or 3 races at the beginning of the year. Had to work his way up through the point standings, got a victory near the end of the regular season, ended up actually finishing out the regular season top 10 in the point standings. I was kind of wondering if we would see Ken Roberts go on that kind of a run, but Ken update that both the 23 of Doug Kulik and the 55 of Ken Roberts are majorly off the pace. You do not see them up in this lead pack, so they definitely are hoping for a race of attrition. As a matter of fact, an update on the 23 of Kulik, he just came to pit road, made the left-hand turn to the garage. He is done for the night. He'll get credit for 34th.
Outside lane becoming a bit of a predominant lane right now.
And Bob Seminara might have been clear off
Oh,
of
he's
2
clear.
for the race
No,
lead.
he's clear. It's about trying to get the rest of them as well.
Seminara ninth in the point standings. You know, we talked about the fact only 3 regular season races left, so a lot of the focus is on drivers around that 10th in the standings cut line. Seminara's 9th, Tim Nofsker right now on the bubble in 10th, Bernie Mobbs right there in 11th. JT Mayhew, who was in the playoffs last season, he's right there hovering in 12th. A former champion in Josh Metallic tied with another former champion in Grant Wesley, tied for 13th. So there's some big name drivers that are just inside and just outside. You know we're going to see movers and shakers, drivers just moving in, drivers just falling out during the course of these 3 weeks. Should make things very exciting. Then you throw in the X factor of potential drivers outside of the top 10 in points, finding victory lane and maybe sniping some last-minute playoff positions. So makes
Shelton
things
moving
very
down.
interesting down this home stretch.
Shelton moving down. Bernie tried to go with. That's going to break up the outside lanes just a little bit, but it still, I don't think, will be enough to push her quite to the lead yet. Seth, we went back to Green Flag Racing on lap 14, and by your calculations, we should be seeing pit stops under green about what time? Probably
the next 14 laps or so.
So we're looking at
on average.
On average, we're looking at what? 40 maybe?
Be around 30.
That'll be the 35.
35,
34,
yeah.
35, yep.
Which would still put us short of making it the rest of the way. They've got at least two stops here from this point. 2 spot stops from here to the checkered flag. Whoa, that inside line looked a little wiggly there. Might be that chain bumping that we usually see, especially on that inside line. Third, fourth, fifth trucks get major runs down the back straightaway, want to push the truck in front of them to keep the momentum going down the straight. But sometimes the bumpers aren't quite lined up the way they should be all the way from the front to the back. Is Jeremy Jeffries. What a move there. Peeks to the left rear quarter panel, Bob Seminara, and now he'll lead the inside line train.
I would say a third lane's trying to form up there, but with him moving down, that's going to give the inside lane a bit of an advantage.
Third lane looked like it might have been the Dale Sr. throwback of Denny Allen up there in the 41. Wiley Coate, I believe, was the truck behind him. Craig Hagley up there as well. And now Kelly Causey going to move up to that third lane in the Jif Peanut Butter Chevrolet Camaro. Well, folks, want to remind you what's coming up for the future schedule here for FRN. This Saturday, we're going to be bringing you coverage, Saturday night, of the Talladega Nights team race. The Halloween team race should be a good one there. A very unique concept. I've had the pleasure of
I've been in the dark. That's tomorrow?
Saturday.
Oh, and I won't be there for it because I have to work.
You don't have to work. You could call out sick.
I can't. Not with our vacation coming up.
And then next Thursday night, we're going to bring you coverage of Race 8 as Jerm Lewis looks like he might be backing out.
I might not be here for that either because I have family coming in.
Well, so Michael might be giving his last hurrah for October because the following week, we will not be here. The following 2 weeks, we will then, after October the 19th broadcast, we will not be back until November. As I mentioned last week, Michael and myself, we're going to be at our fellow broadcast colleague Anthony McCurry's wedding, and I believe the next scheduled broadcast that we will have after next week is November the
Or the 9th.
7th.
That's a Thursday.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at December. Wow. Yeah, November the 9th. So we will be missing the final regular season race and the first playoff race here for the Talladega Challenge. But don't worry, we'll bring you up to speed when we come back on November 9th of everything that has happened. And get ready for the first elimination race of season 60, which, if I recall correctly, based off of this season's order of schedule, will be here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Last year, it was Talladega, where the elimination races took place, as well as the regular season finale, but with the flip-flop of Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway being the season opener, now it's BSR that is where the eliminations and the championship at the end of the season will be decided at.
I heard projected about 9 laps, give or take.
Top 4 have got themselves cleared of the outside line. Ken Roberts has fallen a lap down in the 55, so he is the only driver right now in position for a free pass should we end up having one. No other drivers are currently off the lead lap.
With about 7 to 8 laps projected, said that's going to be earlier pit stops than we thought.
Yeah, a little bit earlier. Yeah,
right
surprisingly.
around lap 30, between 30 and 32, I would believe.
Yep, so yeah, a little bit earlier. That still doesn't change the equation of that they would have 2 stops from here to finish, but yeah, to your point,
30,
makes it a little bit
what is it?
earlier.
33 plus 19 is what?
52, so they'd be
Ew,
still about 14, 15 laps short.
14, 15 laps. Yeah, no, they would have to. I'm so confused now.
They can
what is with your math?
Okay, so 30. We're projecting them
Well,
coming to pit road 32, 33, correct?
Yep, and then they would
19
go
lap run would put them at 52, which gives them 14 to the checkers.
Yeah,
they can make it on that field run. That's
yeah,
literally 2 stops.
Yeah, well, 2 stops now, but
yeah,
theoretically 1 more stop after the one that's coming up.
Right, but they haven't made the second of the 2 pit stops yet, or the first of the 2 pit stops
yet.
Guys,
this is what I have to work with.
Numbers.
Oh, I was talking about you.
Speaking of numbers, you got the 1, the 9, and the 21. What happened in 1921?
Say that again?
You got the 1, the 9, and the 21. So what happened in 1921?
You were born?
No, I was minus 70 at that time, but thank you very much.
Also, by the way, I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. Tarnation TV in our chat says there is no penalty for passing on the outside before the line.
No penalties. All right, thank you, Blaine. Thank you for clearing that up. We've got about 5, 6 laps before these drivers will be hitting pit road.
Single file out.
I'm trying to remember back.
Start to get single file now.
I'm trying to remember back, and they might have, and I'm just forgetting. I know they've made green flag pit stops at Talladega this season. I'm trying to recall if they've yet to make a green flag pit stop here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway this season.
Well, you've called more races here than I have.
Yeah,
this
it seems
season.
like at least the first 2 races they ran here, it seemed like when they were on the verge of making a pit stop, about 2-3 laps prior, the caution would come out. I'm trying to recall back to the last race here 2 weeks ago, if they made a green flag pit stop or not. But the drivers have said that it is entirely different trying to make a green flag pit stop here as opposed to Talladega, when they had that rhythm down. They had, exactly the spot that they had to brake, exactly the spot where they had to let off, exactly the lane that they wanted to choose week after week, season after season at Talladega. It threw them a curveball. They had to get adjusted to how to get onto pit road here at BSR.
I would say that, yes, but stop talking about it because you're going to make it happen.
You saying the commentator's curse is still a thing?
Gosh,
you would have thought
you dang well know it is.
You would have thought here in October, in the spooky month, that all those hexes would be
stop
reversed.
Being spooky.
I can't help it. There's a spooky car out in front.
With another spooky car right behind it.
And this is where Michael dies.
I mean, I'm not coming back until November, so more than likely.
Jeffrey's continuing to show the way. So far, though, Randy Waugh has the bonus point for most laps led. Who was it
I
You
really hope
you
he
have
doesn't get.
taken you
I
have
really
taken
hope he doesn't get mad at me for saying that. But every time you say his name, I'm gonna say Luigi afterwards.
we've now got the new Michael name trend for season 60. What was it 2 seasons ago? It was John Gilbert Godfrey. So now we've got Randy Waluigi. I don't know who he's gonna pick on in season 61. Gonna have to do
I'll,
some
I'll
brainstorming on
find
that one.
somebody.
I mean, I don't know if you remember this story, but you could do Dante Ricky Tiki Tavi.
I don't remember that.
You
Although
don't remember
I
that?
remember the name, but I don't remember where it came
It
from.
was, I think it was a Japanese folktale about a mongoose.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Moving on.
If anybody knows that story, let me know in the comments. Am I just the only old person that
You
knows about
are.
that story?
You are the only old person that knows about that. Anyways, as we were saying, about 3 laps or so away from pitting.
I think we might have someone coming to pit road this lap, and I'm
Bobby
gonna
Dixon.
wager it's Bob Dixon. Yep.
Yep.
I saw the chat light up.
Let's watch him. Let's watch him as he see what does he pull off?
And
Yep, there he goes.
Well, yep, here he comes. I think Paglia was thinking about coming down pit road there with him. He was starting to peel towards the apron. But indeed, it is Bob Dixon hitting pit road.
Oh,
Ken
there's
Roberts
the
there.
55, yep.
Yeah, he's about to go a second lap down, so he's going to have to rely on a couple of cautions to get back into this thing. It has not been the race of attrition here in the first half that he was hoping for after the first and at this point only caution. Looks like the 26 of Billy Elliser has also lost the draft now. He's about 11 seconds behind the leader, so from first to 31st is in this lead pack. Back to Mike Mangialardi in the 029. And here we go. Pretty big pack of trucks. Jeremy Jeffries, Jessica Shelton, Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
Denny Allen is in.
Today was the first day that the muscle I pulled has stopped hurting so much, so you don't hear any moans and groans every time I move around in my chair. Because every time I do, I'd have to punch Seth in the side so he feels my pain. That's your random fact for the day. Oh, there's a spin on the backstretch. Jason Scheck has spun it around below the apron, so I don't believe a caution is out.
Nope, no yellow. Can confirm. There is the 33. Getting it refired. Hard to see if he's got any damage.
Good pit stop by the 1 and the 9. We'll see if that cycles them around as the leader when this is all over.
Wow, look at this conglomerate of trucks coming to pit road here. They were 3 wide for a couple of rows potentially there. Terry Bombard, he had them 3 wide on the front. He had them 3 wide on the back. And they all made it on safely. Good job by all of those guys, because that was a hairy situation in the middle of that group. Got some drivers electing to take on some tires, I noticed right there. Some right sides for Despirito, right sides for Greg Palmer. See how that group cycles around to this group that's getting up to speed. Jeremy Jeffries, Jessica Shelton, and Denny Carroll all starting to get formulated up.
They had good entries to pit road. Got a good stop and got off pretty good, so we'll see where this is going to cycle them around.
Randy Wall, the 21, has lost touch with this trio. We're just gonna have to have a Waluigi counter next week. Oh wait, you're not gonna be here next week.
I'll say it in the chat.
We'll have there you go, perfect.
All right, well let's see what these cars can do. The rest of these cars must have had a better pit stop because.
Well, was it a better pit stop or was it because they were a bigger group? They had a faster in lap potentially there to counter the smaller group that came to pit road.
It's possible.
Might have produced more speed.
Dante Ricky is the race leader, but look, they're all moving to the inside while these cars stay on the outside.
Hold on a second.
They blew past Dante like he was nothing.
Yeah, something's wrong. Something's wrong in that 84. I don't know what it is, but
he could have missed a shift and it just took his momentum away.
Yep, could have been the case.
The 41.
Whoa, Denny Carroll,
41 turned down low, and earlier before Jessica did, Jessica tried to turn down low too, and she tried to shut the door.
I think Dante is okay.
Yeah, I just think he might have missed a shift and just lost a lot of momentum because he got passed by everybody who was because it was just one car versus like 5.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I thought there was something wrong, because the rate of speed in which they passed him, and he was leading the group there. Oh, we got
I
a
want to
car.
just come down pit
Terry
road.
Bombard, black flag speeding for the 10. Oh, that's a tough break. He had cycled around to 13th. Terry's going to have to serve the pass through there. He'll probably stay on the lead lap, but certainly could be in danger if we continue to trend green of falling a lap down, since this pack here has got, looks like about 17, 18 trucks in it. Well, maybe 20 if Josh Metallic and John Godfrey can keep in touch.
Got a 6-pack of trucks on the outside, 5-pack of trucks on the inside, and there's a truck being put a lap down on the very outside.
Yeah, that's the Black Hawk down, number 029 Ford of Mike Mangialardi. And we got a couple of other trucks that are in danger of going a lap down as well. Mentioned about Billy Elliser losing the draft prior to the pit stops, and Michael, you remarked, and we caught the tail end there of the Jason Scheck spin on the back straightaway. He's in danger now of going a lap down. Both drivers on the tail of the lead lap there. You saw Scheck on the back straightaway and Elliser going into turn 3 as the field was coming out of turn 2. A couple of other drivers that didn't have the best of pit stops. Bob Dixon, he's back in 28th. Terry Bombard obviously had to serve that penalty, and then Cy Jones, Mark Paglia, Jerm Lewis, and Richard Martin, they're all working together trying to keep themselves as far ahead of this group as possible. They're in a group of about 4 or 5 right now, hoping that a caution will save them.
Boy, how the turns have tabled for our pole sitter. That was such a great joke, it left him speechless.
I'm trying to find where Mark Paglia is on the running order to see why he said that.
Well, you said he was in jeopardy of kind of losing a lap down, going a lap down.
Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even listen to myself.
That's a problem.
Slightly. But then I talk too much, so sometimes I just, zone myself out. You've never had that one part of you that talks, and then the other part of you just goes la 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 la. You know you have. We all have. Your silence means yes. Rodney Sullins showing the way here. Of course, got his first victory on the season in the opener at BSR. We saw him do that park in the grass there next to the Tribute Memorial decal. Very touching moment there. He always wanted to win at this particular racetrack. Of course, mentioned the fact that British Great Irish Raceway, based in Bentonville, Arkansas, home track for Rodney Sullins, and he'd love to be able to be a repeat winner here in season 60. As a matter of fact, Rodney Sullins, he's made the Final Four twice in his career, and if I recall correctly, in only one of those 2 seasons when he made the playoffs did he find victory lane. Rodney Sullins has never had a multi-win season here in the Talladega Challenge Series. A couple of drivers that are behind him, though, they have. Grant Wesley, he's of course been a multi-time winner multiple seasons. Kelly Causey was a multi-time winner last year when he made it into the playoffs. And right behind them is Greg Palmer in the 22. Good run there for Greg. I'm going to give a shameless plug. Greg coming off some momentum last Saturday when he took the checkered flag in the SRA Talladega special event, and looking to ride that momentum here tonight. He, of course, last season made the playoffs via points, then went out and won the first playoff race to lock himself into the round of 8. And he's been doing fairly well in the overall points here this season. Greg comes into tonight in the... I had him and I just lost him. 4th position in overall standings, 30 points out.
Good job. Nice job. There you go.
Looking for consistency via points to get himself into the playoffs, but certainly would not turn down the opportunity to get another checkered flag in the Talladega Challenge Series. Things have kind of gotten broken up here in this pack. You've got 4 trucks on the inside, about 9 trucks on the outside, and then a gap back to another 4 trucks on the inside there, led by Craig Hagley. And it's looking like the 4 trucks on the inside are still being able to slightly hold their ground against the infinitely larger line in the second groove.
Yeah, it seems like that for right now. I mean, there's still a bit of a gap there, but I guess it all comes down to pushing. Hey, there's that WD-40 truck up here in this lead pack too. He was involved in that accident at the
You
very beginning.
got a couple of trucks that were involved in the earlier incident that got away fairly unscathed and are still competitive. You mentioned about Brian Lovell. You've got Bernie Mobbs back there in the 31. He got a little piece of that initial wreck. Brian Schilling and Tim Nosker, they bumper grabbed and spun to the inside, avoided most of the carnage above them. They're second and third on that outside line right now, so good comebacks for some of the drivers that could have been a very early end to their night had circumstances worked out different in the first 10 laps of this evening's event.
Well, Seth, we'd be roughly about what, 14 laps away from pit stops?
I would say 10 laps away because they pitted what, lap 30,
2, I think it was
32,
32.
33. So yeah, we're about 10 laps shy of that final pit stop, which makes things very interesting in the terms that if we end up having that final pit stop at 10 to go, we know that the fuel run on average is 19 laps, and that's 2 tanks of fuel.
It wouldn't be 10
laps
to
is
go. It would not be 10
just
to go, Seth. It would be probably, like you said, like 13, 14. It'd be like 14 to go almost.
Oh, 14 to go. Okay, then I'm not even going to bring up the point I was going to bring up because the math wouldn't work out. Bob Dixon going to go a lap down there in the 143.
Ken Roberts is officially retired.
Oh boy, that's going to be a huge hit for him. We mentioned about the fact that he needs to get into the top 20 in the point standings. He was close to it here tonight. Granted, 26th, but only 21 points out of 20th in the standings. And his official finishing result will be 33rd here this evening. So 2 races will remain. It will be interesting to see where he is positioned at the end of this race, how many points out he is. Does he still have a shot mathematically of advancing his way into the top 20 for last week's win to count towards a second playoff berth? Well, Rodney Sullivan's continuing to show the way here. He's trying to best Randy Waugh for the most laps led here tonight. Randy Waugh so far has had 14 circuits out in front. Rodney Sullivan's about to lead his 11th lap. 8 laps led for Jeremy Jeffries, 3 laps led for Jessica Shelton. And then all the rest of these drivers, or correction, actually, there's another driver. Bob Seminara's led 4 laps, and then all the rest of these other drivers have led 1 lap apiece. Kelly Causey, Dante Ricky, and Billy Elliser. We've got currently 27 drivers on the lead lap of 32 that are running. The free pass positions right now held by Terry Bombard and Bob Dixon, and 3 drivers back behind the wall, Ken Roberts, Doug Hulick, and Hank Middleton. We're about to complete our 44th lap. We've only worked 1 caution that was in the very early going of this race. Got 1 more pit stop for these drivers before the conclusion of this evening's event. I believe we've currently got 18 trucks up in this lead pack,
Which is
20 trucks overall, with Terry Bombard and Bob Dixon, the lap trucks, intermingled at the tail end of this group.
How much of an annoyance do you think lap cars are when they're in a main pack like this? Like, you know that they're ahead of you, but you know that they're not for position, and it's just like, move out of my way, but it's also like, help me because you're now behind me.
I think as long as they're up to speed, they're not as much of an annoyance. If it comes down to the end of the race, though, and they're in front of you and you're trying to make a move for position, that's when the annoyance starts to set in. But at this point in time, you've got them both running at the tail end of this pack. They're not hindering anybody. They're just keeping themselves in the draft up to speed to hold on to the current top 2 lucky dog positions. So there's definitely, I don't think, any type of annoyance right now for the other 18 lead lap trucks up in this pack. I'm at 20 laps to go here. Now, here's an interesting question, Michael. So, This is kind of what I was originally going to ask, but the numbers didn't work out. However, it does bring up a point with the actual uh, number of laps that will be left if these drivers stretch it as far as they possibly can on this fuel run. So let's kind of speculate 14, maybe 15 laps to go. That's about 3/4 of a run. You could run the possibility of more than likely going with a can and a half of fuel to reach the conclusion. It's only going to cost you maybe 2-3 seconds longer to take on 2 cans. So with it being as close as it is right now, can and a half to 2 cans, do you think we would see some drivers peel off in this next lap or two as soon as the fuel window opens to make it the rest of the way?
I mean, yes, and with the possibility of knowing that that there is no overtime, but it just depends on the amount of fall off that you get in the CTS physics. It just depends on if you can time it right, if you feel like you're not going to use up enough fuel or anything like that. So it's going to be a very interesting call to say the least. And Seth, don't forget though, 2 to 3 seconds. That's a lot on the racetrack.
It is a lot on the racetrack, but if you got enough drivers that come to pit road with you, we've seen 6, 7 trucks in a line be able to match, if sometimes not beat, the lap times of a pack of 14, 15 that are double wide. And we always kind of ask this question when these drivers have to come to pit road for only half a can of fuel or for a can of fuel. Obviously, there's a huge difference in time between that and staying there for the full 2 cans. But I kind of feel like there's not a whole lot much in terms of time between a can and a half and 2 cans. So we'll see if any drivers elect to go on that line and come to pit road even 2-3 laps sooner than they originally would be projected. As right now, I believe we would be in the fuel window to make it the rest of the way if they came to pit road right now. I'm starting to see some radio chatter light up, Michael. I think we might have some pitters this time by.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing both Bobs, the 41, possibly 31 coming down this time too.
So right at the fuel window opening, we got some drivers electing to, around the mid-pack portion of this lead group, come to pit road. Whoa, Bob Seminara going to get off in the grass. That's not going to give him a penalty. If he got it woed down in time, it is going to obviously slow him and allow Bernie Mobbs and Randy Waugh to take advantage. Oh, and then he gets boxed out of his pit stall. Bob Dixon was to his left. Mobbs pulling in. Randy Waugh, Denny Carroll, so about 5 trucks right there. We'll see if that's going to draw anybody else to pit road this next time by. I'm starting to see maybe some more hands out the window. Let's see if we're going to have any takers here. Coming to 16 to go. Our leader might be coming in. Nope. Jeremy Jeffries, Jessica Shelton, and Chris Emery are coming down pit road, though. Jeffries from 13th, Shelton from 14th, and Emery from 15th. Lap truck of Jason Scheck coming in, and then here's the second pack coming to pit road. A bunch of them. Oh, we're going to have some spinners. Wiley Coate and Mark Paglia. Paglia going to try and get his truck
I'm
turned
noticing
around.
fuel only stops here. No one's going to bother to take any type of tires. Figured you might be able to get away with possibly 2 tires or something.
Got to be taking at least 2 cans, I would think here. You got to be taking 2 cans. I don't think you can get away with a can and a half with how early they're coming to pit road. Crivello there. Comes some more on pit road. Ooh, tight, 3 wide. It was Causey, Palmer, and Hagley that were 3 wide there. And, oh, there's going to be contact. Hagley got boxed in because Brian Schilling was in front of him when they were in that 3 wide situation. He did not have a lane. And he pushed Brian Schilling past his pit box. Schilling had to back his truck up.
I don't
So
know
that's going to cost him some time.
Were they even working on his car?
I think they were. I think they serviced him. He didn't slide that far past. He slid almost to the front of his pit box and had to back it up just a little. But it's obviously going to cost him valuable time on the racetrack. And let's see who cycles out to the lead. Here's the leaders now. It's Dante Ricky, Tim Nofsker coming in. Man, Dante flying in there. JT Mayhew and Terry Bombard in this lap. believe that would cycle the race lead to the 88 of Grant Wesley, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, actually it would be Kelly Causey. Causey, DeSpirito, and Wesley, I believe, are some of the few that we would be waiting on to complete this final cycle of pit stops. Everybody should be able to make it the rest of the way at this point in time. It looks like these drivers, they're going to elect to continue to stay out. Unless they've already made their pit stop. Let me wait for scoring to update. A lot of drivers and a lot of groups that came to pit road there. And it looks like, no, I believe these three have actually come to pit road, showing that they've made 3 pit stops. Here's your race lead. Tim Knopfsker going to cycle back out to the front. JT Mayhew is going to be in second, but Dante Ricky now by himself in third, and he's going to have that trio of Causey, DeSpirito, and Wesley barreling down on his back bumper here, probably on the front straightaway by the time they get to the start-finish line.
Yep, we have a 2-car, one that's about to get his doors blown off here.
By 3. And I think we got another pack.
And then we got another big.
Oh no, it's a big pack
here. Yeah, they got eaten up pretty quick.
Yeah, I saw Palmer and Terry Bombard there off of 4. Did not see this group on the top side, comprised of Chris Emery, Jeremy Jeffries, Jessica Shelton, Randy Wall, and others.
Dante, I don't think is going to get the draft. He might get the draft, but I don't know if he'll be able to suck up. But this big pack's going to want to get around him.
Yep, he'll probably have to merge with the pack behind him there. That group of about 9 or 10. JT Mayhew doing all he can to shove the 088 and keep them ahead, but I think it's fruitless. I think they're going to get reeled in pretty quick.
Oh yeah, this is going to be interesting. Dante, oh no, Dante has to come to pit road.
Oh, yep, scoring just showed. Speeding penalty. I said he was flying when he came into pit road entry. Tried to put it right on the razor's edge and just overstepped apparently.
Well, he hot pitted again right in there, hoping that he doesn't get another penalty. That's because I think that would be a stop go.
Whoa, that was close right there. Joe DeSpirito making a move on the inside of Kelly Causey. Knopfsker sees that run coming. He'll jump down to cover the bottom, but look at the push that Causey gave to JT Mayhew on the top side, and watch that group come who may have a third line for him. Nope.
No, they all went to the inside.
Emery would stay on the top, and Jeremy Jeffries went to the bottom. Contact. Got the back of Grant Wesley to Jeremy Jeffries. That could have been sketchy out of turn 4.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Check them up a bunch. See what the running order is when they cross the start-finish line here for the top 10. We know Knopfsker is going to be the leader. DeSpirito second. I think Wesley just barely edged Mayhew for third. Mayhew would be fourth, and Jeremy Jeffries, Kelly Causey, Chris Emery, Jessica Shelton, Rodney Sullins, and Brian Lovell. That is the top 10 as they are scored right now. I believe we now have whittled it down to 15 lead lap trucks up in this lead pack. Back to Bernie Mobbs in the 31. Gonna be 10 to go this time by. We've got about a half dozen drivers that are off the lead lap, so we know that if a caution were to come out, we'd have that extra lap of pacing, so it puts that point of no return lap
Somebody spun
at
coming
62.
to pit road, it looks like. It was smoke coming onto pit road. I don't know who it
Dante
was.
Ricky in the 84, and he's just parked it.
Might have had another black.
I think he did. I think he had a second black flag. My scoring was still showing him with a black flag. I'm assuming it didn't clear. And Dante has now gone back behind the wall, and he's going to finish in 31st. 32nd, another retiree that we didn't document, that being Jason Scheck. He came to pit road about 6 laps ago, and he'll get credited for the 32nd position. Those two joining Ken Roberts, Doug Kulik, and Hank Middleton behind the wall before the conclusion of this one.
We got less than 10 to go. Actually, we have 10 to go right now, actually coming to 9. And this pack's all together.
Lucky dog positions have changed. Terry Bombard still has the first lucky dog position, but Mike Mangialardi currently has the second. Not too far ahead of Mark Paglia. So those two could be duking it out here in the closing stages if we were to get a late yellow for the final free pass position, as that middle line starting to look a little antsy there. I saw Kelly Causey and Chris Emery, a lot of movement out of those two. Brian Lovell looks like he wants to go as well in the 043. Pretty even right now for the inside and outside line in terms of number of trucks. Maybe one truck advantage for the middle line there through 3 and 4. Up in this lead group, Joe DeSpirito and Rodney Sullins are the only two drivers in the top 10 that have formally won this season. Nofsker and Wesley, Mayhew, Jeffries, Causey, Emery, Randy Waugh, Brian Lovell, they're all looking for their first win on the season. As a matter of fact, in the entire front group here, Sullins and DeSpirito are the two former winners on the season. Everybody else, though, they're all looking for that first checkered flag, and for a number of these drivers, like a Nofsker or a Shelton or a Jeffries, they're up there high enough on the point standings. That's an automatic ticket, an automatic lock into the playoffs. Greg Palmer, JT Mayhew also fall under that category.
When are we gonna see the third? Never mind, it happened right now.
Are you a psychic? Did you know?
I was just about to ask, when are we gonna see that third lane? And well, you know,
JT Mayhew jumping up there.
Guess he was in my head.
All right, you remember last season? Well, actually, no, I think it was end of last season. I think Anthony was up in the booth, and we were talking about the combination of Chips Ahoy and Oreo, the Nabisco coalition. You like desserts. What about the combination of Chips Ahoy and Jif peanut butter?
I've had it before.
Maybe that's got to be the new combination here for this season, because Jeremy Jeffries turned traitor and left Nabisco and went over to the Busch beer sponsorship, which then ended up bringing about Nabushko. But anyway, oh, Grant got spun by Jeremy Jeffries. He's gonna go around. No caution, I don't think, will fly. You can see that the lights are not on the pace truck. He got a bump, got a shove through the tri-oval. And Grant Wesley, all of a sudden now, is not in the conversation for this checkered flag.
No, but that could result in a possible post-race penalty for that one.
Or a pass-through, potentially here under green for Jeremy Jeffries. We'll keep an eye on that. Now
That's going to help the outside lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely clogged up the entire lead pack now. They were double wide, immediately went to 3 wide after Wesley had his problem, and JT Mayhew is going to shoot out to the race lead. Kelly Causey's going to push him there, coming to 5 laps to go. One of Jeremy Jeffries still out on the racetrack there.
Oh, boy.
Yikes, that's a big block there. JT Mayhew just cleared across the front bumper of Tim Nofsker.
We're on lap 62.
We are, point of no return at this point in time. We'll give the usual notification. If trouble breaks out, we will go back and we will look at everything under replay, under pacing, or at the end of the race. But we will stay here at the front. Anytime that we have a caution come out, we will stay with them to the start-finish line to watch the race back to either the official checkered flag or the proverbial checkered flag via the caution. Got a couple of trucks peeking middle. Now and Brian Lovell is going to block that along with Denny Carroll in the 41. Top 4 on the inside line clear. It's JT Mayhew, Tim Nofsker taking a peek, can't get there. Jeremy Jeffries, Jessica Shelton, now Bernie Mobbs clear for the 5th position.
Almost clear for the 5th position. Not quite. He still got a bumper up there.
Last season, I don't know why I keep saying year. Last season, JT Mayhew made his playoffs debut, was consistent, made it into the top 10 in points, but he's still looking for that first checkered flag of his career. Last week, we saw a 5-season winless streak snapped. We might see a win streak begin here tonight for a first-timer, but he's got some wily veterans behind him. Tim Nofsker, Jeremy Jeffries, Bernie Mobbs, they're all looking for their first win, as Shelton leading that outside line now, pinching Mobbs down in a side-by-side for 4th.
We'll see if that outside lane can get going here. It's going to be a lot of blocking up there. And But with there being so much space between her and the leader, someone else can jump up there. Like I wouldn't mind. Like Tim Knopfsker might jump up there last minute, but she's getting a good run on the back stretch.
Big pushes, good pushes on that top line. Rodney Sullins, Greg Palmer, Brian Lovell up there. Got Shelton alongside of Jeremy Jeffries for third. We'll see if they keep that momentum up here on the front stretch. I think Shelton just got to the right rear of Tim Knopfsker. Now what does JT Mayhew do? He sees the momentum on the top. Does he move up to block it? Little contact further back. Might stall out this outside line. Emery got shuffled up to the third lane. 2 laps to go here at BSR.
She's side by side with the leader, but that's all it is side by side. She's got to stay close, and the 043's got to stay behind her at this point.
Yeah, and they've got to make sure there's not a third lane, too, that will stall out that middle line.
They were fighting down there for the first position. That gave Jess all the momentum she needed.
Jessica Shelton to the point, looking for her first win on the season. Brian Lovell right behind her. They're looking to maybe move back down low. Nope, they stay up top with Sullins, Palmer, and Kelly Causey. This time by, the white flag will be displayed.
Despade.
Jessica Shelton gonna have to cover the bottom. Brian Lovell moves down there along with Rodney Sullins.
She's gonna get turned. She's gonna get turned.
Quarter panel of Shelton coming to the white flag.
She was gonna get turned. He is not backing off, and she is mirror driving right now.
Brian Lovell, nothing to lose. Contact, and Greg Palmer not gonna be able to save it. Into JT Mayhew.
Oh my
We're still
Lord!
racing back as Mayhew is up and over. Randy Waugh is collected. The 338 is still on his side there. Shelton to the bottom covering. Remember, the 043's got nothing to lose. His first start in the season. Shelton could have a locked-in playoff position if she's able to pick up this checkered flag. Look at Rodney Sullins.
She's got to go high. She's got to go high.
Sullins with a push from Tim Knopfsker in the 088. Jeremy Jeffries up there as well.
Nope,
Rodney Sullins got the run on the top.
They have too much of a run on the outside, and it's going to be Sullins that's going to win.
Knopfsker is going to try and look top. No, he's going to get taken 3 wide by Jeremy Jeffries. He's going to get spun into Shelton as Rodney Sullins is going to pick up his second win on the season. His second win here at Bird Screwdrivers Raceway. If he wasn't locked into the playoffs before, he certainly is now. And for the first time in his Talladega Challenge career, Rodney Sullins is a multi-time winner.
As much as I hate to be a biased commentator, that was just should have moved up to the high side after that second block.
Was there too much momentum is probably the question.
If she would have went up to block, she might have had a better chance.
Rodney Sullins, though, going to pick up this victory. And for the second time this season, we're going to see him do some burnouts and more than likely park over at that Memoriam decal over just near the pit road entrance.
I will say, however, that was a really exciting last lap, and I'm glad they decided to wait till the white flag to wreck it up instead of beforehand.
Rodney Sullins burning it down here at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway. And gonna get clobbered by the 41 of Denny Carroll.
Possible the 31 hit the back of the 088, so it's very possible that could have some type of repercussion on that one. But we'll see what the admins deem, which would be afterwards. Of course, we won't find out until next week.
Now, fortunately, the engine is smoking but not expired on the Black Rifle Coffee Chevrolet Silverado. So Rodney Sullins going to make his way over here, and as we saw him do about 6 weeks ago, he'll be parked up at the Tribute decal right there at pit road entry, or he eventually will be making his way over to Victory Lane. And as promised, we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at replays of what happened on that final lap. Now, let's begin with the JT Mayhew incident where almost it wasn't a caution. Greg Palmer was doing everything he could to hang on to this Hooters Chevy, but I think it was like maybe that.
It was net code.
And the last little movement as he was trying to gather it up, it gets him into the right rear quarter panel of JT Mayhew.
Let's put it this way and say that I'm glad that these are virtual cars, because man, that was a hard hit.
Yep. Oh, he actually did have it saved, but then he got a little tap from behind from Kelly Causey.
Watch us right up 160 miles an hour into the outside wall.
JT Mayhew, who was leading at less than 10 to go,
He's
caught up
he
in
is
this one.
one with the wall.
Got cookie crumbs all over 1 and 2. Watch this right here. Right in the right rear. Hard into the wall. Immediately it flips over. You had Randy Waugh and Kelly Causey get together further up. Randy Waugh was spun around the back straightaway. There you see him in the background there. Nosed it into the inside wall. Take a look at that incident before we then jump up and see if we can figure out what happened with Tim Nofsker there.
Oh, by the way, just getting reports. Dante said that his brake pedal wasn't reacting very good tonight.
Oh, wow.
Oh, by the way, also, I didn't say this earlier. I'm going to touch on it now. Milt Surratt said he knows the Ricky Tiki Tavi.
Hey, so there is a fellow Ricky Tiki Tavi fan. Well, not necessarily a fan, but I know of it, so good. At least I'm not the only one. Okay, it was Bernie Mobbs that made the contact with Randy Waugh that sent him up into Kelly
Oh boy,
Causey, and then this was the incident coming to
that second pack. There was a second pack coming after the main wreck happened, and boy, they were not expecting that off the turn.
And that's the incident that then was coming to the eventual checkers. Bob Seminara going up and over. Yeah, Bernie Mobbs had a big push from Joe DeSpirito and gave Tim Nofsker a shot at the end, which actually had him cross the start-finish line in the second position. So we're going to be talking with Tim in just a few moments. Take a look at the ride Jessica Shelton takes. I think she crossed the line in
6th. I believe it said 6th.
Yep, you're correct. Boy, that truck blew over, and as soon as I hit the inside wall, it straightened out and kept going again.
Yeah, I'd say even getting wrecked like that, at least she still walked away with a top 10 finish.
I don't think I've ever seen a truck flip, hit the wall, and then keep going. That hit at just the right angle. We're going to take a look at the finishing results here as like the standings are official.
Then she meets Bob Seminara, who climbed her truck.
I noticed that, yeah. Here's a look at it. Rodney Sullins, Tim Nofsker, Jeremy Jeffries, your podium finishers here tonight. We'll be talking with them in just a few moments. Bernie Mobbs brings it home in 4th. Brian Lovell, good run there in his debut on the season, top 5 and 5th. Shelton in 6th. Joe DeSpirito 7th. Denny Carroll, good run. I think this is either his 2nd or 3rd start on the season, and he'll get a top 10 in 8th. Chris Emery, pretty quiet. We didn't talk very much about the flamboyant highlighter yellow 000 tonight, but he's going to get 9th, and Bob Seminara will bring it home in the 10th position. Despite getting a little bit of contact there off of turn 2 on that final lap, Kelly Causey brings it home 11th. Greg Palmer, who was involved in that incident off of 2 as well, gets 12th. Randy Waugh 13th. JT Mayhew managed to still cross the start-finish line in the 14th position, and Josh Metallic brings it home in 15th place. From Josh Metallic on down, those are all drivers that were pretty much back in a second pack since we ended up running, what was it, the final 54 laps? Yeah, 54 laps under green flag conditions. And a lot of drivers had some issues with the 2 rounds of green flag pit stops that we had. And you can see most of them from 15th on down through 24th. Grant Wesley going to finish in 25th after he got spun.
That was very terrible
from the race
terrible
lead.
For Grant, yeah.
We'll have to see what the scoring is on that, because remember the egregious party that bumped him in the trioval was Jeremy Jeffries, who right now is scheduled to finish in a podium position. So it'll be interesting to see next week what the fallout is from that. 4 drivers finished off the lead lap: Bombard, Mangialardi, Elliser, and Dixon. And then we had a half dozen drivers back behind the wall: Paglia, Ricky Scheck, Ken Roberts. Tough break here tonight, 1 week removed from his 2nd career win in the Talladega Challenge Series. Doug Kulick and Hank Middleton complete the rest of the field. It will be interesting to see once the points are updated where and how far back outside of the top 20 in points Ken Roberts is, and we'll obviously follow up on that story heading into next week's race. But now we'll head into our FRN post-race wind down. And it's time to dial up our 3 podium finishers. Let's see if we can kick things off with the guy that brings it home P3, and that'd be Jeremy Jeffries. Hey, Jeremy, Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. Got a copy?
I do. How you guys doing?
I'll tell you what, it's been a little while since we've seen a long green flag, well, not even long green flag run, long green flag race here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. A little bit of a change of pace for you guys off of the first 3 times you guys have visited here in season 60. So it came down really to execution here tonight, and you were able to do that in some pretty big packs coming to pit road. How difficult was it here this evening, kind of getting readjusted to the long green flag race that we've seen for a good portion of the last couple of seasons?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I love being able to make moves and not have to worry about when the caution's coming out and pit stops. And I love the green flag pit stops. And it changes the race completely when you get those long runs.
Take us to those last couple of laps there. It was getting real racy, real dicey, real dodgy out there. I mean, were you trying to get up to thinking that a caution was going to come out, or were you just going at it? Like, just take us through those couple of laps there.
I actually thought we were going to make it back, and then we got into who was that, turn 1 or something, and then some trucks got together, almost saved it, and then we got around to the start finish line. There was another wreck, so we made up for the lack of cautions there on the last lap. That's for sure.
Now, one thing that we were discussing was there was an incident just after the final round of pit stops involving yourself and the 88 of Grant Wesley through the tri-up. Looked like a bad bump there. Uh, any worry that there's going to be any fallout of you not being able to keep your position? Was there like some discussion between the drivers of what happened right there? Like obviously we're only able to see what we're able to see up here in the booth. We're not able to kind of have the eyes and ears behind the scenes. So can you take us through what exactly happened there?
It was pretty much exactly what you saw, and man, I apologized to Grant so many times after that happened and after the race, and um, gosh, I hate when things like that happen, and I don't really have a good excuse for it.
Let's go to a lighter note. I mean, you came into this race fighting for the regular season championship, 8 points back. We know you're good at this racetrack. You proved that last year when you had back to back to back wins here. 2 races left here in the regular season. We've yet to see you pick up a checkered flag, but you've obviously been very consistent. So, what with these final 2 races remaining is top of your list between those 2 things? Are you looking for the bonus points for the regular season championship, or do you want to get that checkered flag before the playoffs begin?
I want the win. I want to get a win. I really, really want to get a win, especially not knowing what's going to happen with the points after reviews.
Close to getting that checkered flag here tonight. You bring it home with another podium finish. 3rd place here tonight under the lights at BSR. Congratulations on the good run. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
All right. Thank you to you guys for doing the broadcast, and Jason Check and 260 Motorsports for helping put them on, along with our owners, Sean Prime and David Cannon. All the admins here, all the racers here, my family, friends, and XFM teammates, which I ended up wrecking one of them today.
Jeremy Jeffries, 3rd place here tonight as we're down the home stretch of the regular season. Congratulations on the great run. Best of luck next week, obviously, and in preparation for the playoffs. Maybe we'll see you get that checkered flag there when we head back to Talladega.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to Rodney. Good job.
Jeffries, your 3rd place finisher here this evening. Let's see if we can now dial up the driver of the 088, 2nd place finisher here tonight, Tim Nofsker. Hey, Tim, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Sure do, guys. How you doing?
Well, last week, Talladega didn't exactly go your way. You dropped down to 10th in the standings, right near that cut line, a couple of spots above it. Tonight, 2nd place finish, almost pull off the victory, but gotta give yourself a little bit of relief, I would think, here with 2 races remaining, putting a little bit of a cushion between yourself and that cutoff line right now.
It helps. It helps. At least this week I finished inside the track.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Oh man, that was crazy. I watched that one from work, and I was like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, that was something I'd never been a part of or seen, so I didn't even know that was possible.
And I'll tell you, it was a very crazy last couple of laps there. Just trucks just going all over the place, blocks being thrown, and just trying to pick the right lane. And take us through those last 5 laps from your perspective.
Well, I was doing okay leading, and then everybody jumped the middle line, and I got shuffled back, and then the 88 got sped out of line, and somehow I was able to motor underneath everyone, and then there was a incident on the last lap there up in 1 and 2, and I just barely missed that. So, yeah, I needed a good night. I had a dismal 3 weeks, so there was some luck in there, but yeah, it's nice to run up front, especially drawing a 36 starting spot.
Now, obviously, as mentioned with this finish, and we haven't gotten the points updated yet, going to give yourself a little bit of a cushion. Does that help a driver's mentality, especially with the few races left in the regular season? Because we know as soon as a driver puts on the helmet, climbs behind the wheel, they want to be the first one back to that checkered flag. But in the kind of position that you were in here tonight, you had to focus on points as well. So now does that kind of help you to be able to switch your mentality more so looking for that victory in these final 2 races, try and get those bonus points for when the playoffs are reformatted?
Well, I'd certainly like a victory, but I think I need to just concentrate on that gap back at this point, back to 10th. I just need to yap those guys a little bit, and I think that'll help my situation. If a victory presents itself, that's great, but as hard as it is to win in this series, you certainly can't bank on a victory. So, consistent finishes, I think, are what's going to be the key.
Well, a consistent finish here tonight as the points are in. 6th is where you're now positioned in the point standings heading into next week with only 2 races remaining. So gaining back the 4 positions you lost last week. Well done, getting tied for your best finish on the season. 2nd place here tonight. Before we let you go, though, we're going to give you the opportunity, thanks to sponsors, do some shout outs.
Yeah, always thanks to you guys for putting on a great broadcast. Thanks to Bones and Prime for everything they do for us. I've got to thank Josh and Wiley for triple team in this series. It takes about 3 admins to make it go right. So thanks to them. And I want to give a shout out that I don't normally give, and I wish I would every week or every time I talk to you, is to Jason Scheck for being instrumental in sponsoring this series. Plus, he does all my paint jobs. And so I've got to give a shout out to him. And then on a personal page, I'd like to give a shout out to all my children, including my daughter Lexi, who normally watches when she can. But that should do it.
Well, Tim Nofsker gives himself some breathing space with a 2nd place run here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations on the great run. Best of luck next week at Talladega as the playoffs draw ever closer.
Great. Thanks, guys.
And let's see if we can go down to victory lane and see if we can dial up tonight's race winner, 2nd multi-time winner on the season, Rodney Sullins. Rodney, Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Guys, how you doing?
Well, we talk about the commentator's curse, but I want to talk about the commentator's booth. I don't know, like luck charm, I
Booth?
guess we'll call it, because
Commentator's booth?
the commentator's booth luck charm, because we've had certain occasions in past seasons, and we've talked about this before. There was a point where we had Josh Metallic. We were talking to him pre-race. He went on to win the race. Tim Nofsker, we talked to him pre-race. He went on to win the race. Last week was obviously not the finish you were looking for. You DNF'd pretty early on in that Talladega race. You joined me up in the commentator's booth, and now you're in victory lane here tonight. So I think there's something there. I don't know what it is, but I think there's something there.
I'll tell you what, Seth, I've been, since the checkered flag fell, I've been sitting there trying to think of exactly what you're talking about, trying to figure out a way that I can commentate during the race from here on out. I mean, can I do that from in car? Can we just plug me in and
An in-race reporter?
Yeah, that's something. And we were talking about last week about you said hope to see you up here again. And It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, Rodney, you might get your chance next week. Well, right for our vacation. I have family coming in. I don't think I'll be here, so you'll have your chance next week.
Just not wrecked though.
Yeah,
Right,
just not right.
right.
But
Yeah.
there was some dicing and some late moves. That wreck on the last lap there really jumbled a lot of things up. Talk about that last lap move to get around both the 9 and the 043.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. The last couple of laps, I was going to go inside, and then somebody jumped down right in front of me, so I had to kind of make a quick reaction back to the outside. And then coming down to that last lap with on the outside there, they were or the guys on the outside. Who was it? JT, I think JT Mayhew, I believe. Anyway, I seen something happening with those guys, and then I felt it because he hit my truck. I felt it and thought I was gone. And then I looked in my mirror and I seen all the chaos happening. I'm like, okay, well, let's just hammer down and see what happens. Third place would be good. I'd be happy with third. And then I seen Brian make a move on Jess. Jess went down the block. I think they kind of hit each other and kind of squirreled each other up a little bit. So I just turned right and said, I got to take this momentum and see where it carries me. And then I seen Tim, I believe it was Tim and Jeremy, coming up from a little bit behind. And I didn't know what kind of speed they were going to have. I didn't know if it was going to be a place on the track where I could try to block or if they were going to be too fast for me to try to block. So I just kind of just watched my mirror, and Tim come up behind me and gave me a good shove. And well, thanks to Tim and Jeremy, I guess that's why I'm here. And of course, my burnt screwdriver racing boys all night long worked together. But Tim and Jeremy there helped me at the end. But it was crazy, man. There was wrecks all around me, and I come home without a scratch. I'll take that.
Yeah, we saw obviously you win here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway in the season opener. 6 weeks later, you're back in victory lane. First multi-time win season for you here in the Talladega Challenge Series. We mentioned before even the conclusion of this race about the fact that you've been in the Final Four. You've competed for the championship on a number of occasions. You think that with the way things are rolling right now, you getting the feeling that maybe this is the season because you've had the consistency. You're fourth in overall points after the conclusion of this one. You've got 2 victories. You're obviously going to have some very good playoff points when the standings are reformatted. We know you're obviously locked in. So with this momentum right now, I mean, what's the confidence level looking towards the playoffs?
I'm still a little bit of the new guy around here. There's a lot more experience around me, but I like the way things are going. And if we can keep these fast Black Rifle coffee trucks on the track and wheels down, I think I've got as good a chance as most of them. There's some guys out there that this is some of the best in the business out here, and just to be up here with these guys, it blows my mind. Just the short time that I've been back racing. But I like my chances. Things are going well. I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm having a good time so far.
Well, second time you go to Victory Lane, second different truck you parked in Victory Lane. Got the spookified number 38 here for the month of October. Cool to see you did the burnouts and get to park in front of that memorial decal once again here in season 60. Rodney, before we let you go and continue on your celebration for your second win on the season, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Well, obviously, I want to thank you guys. I can't wait to go back and watch this one because there was some excitement, and I know you guys are just going to be the icing on the cake for how good this is going to be. So thank FRN and Seth and you and Michael. Appreciate you guys and what y'all do. Obviously, Bones, Prime, Sheck, guys who run Rolling Thunder, 260 Motorsports, and Jason Sheck for sponsoring the broadcast this season. Josh, Tim, and Wiley, the admins for Talladega Challenge, and of course all the admins and drivers that make up Rolling Thunder Racing. It's one of the best places around. The fast Black Rifle Coffee Chevrolet Silverado tonight. Like I say, Rockin' Brews, Grinds, Thrustmaster, Rozzy, Habana Brisa. Again, Tim and Jeremy, thank you guys for the push. I want to say hello, my dad, Sandra, Roger, Judy, if you guys are out there watching. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Seth. Michael.
Rodney Sullins, he's your victor here tonight. Second win on the season here under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations once again on the victory. Best of luck here in these final 2 regular season races in preparation for the postseason.
Thanks again, guys. Have a good night.
So as Rodney Sullins continues to celebrate in victory lane, a couple of storylines at the conclusion of this one. Joe DeSpirito, now still the points leader, only 4 points over Jeremy Jeffries, so still very close for the regular season championship. Remember, that pays out 15 playoff points to the driver that ends up accumulating the most points at the conclusion of race number 9. Very, very important. We talk about the importance of wins, but consistency pays off in this series as well. And down around that cut line, 12 drivers make it in on points. And Michael, listen to some of these drivers that are just above and just below the cut line. John Godfrey, JT Mayhew, Josh Metallic, Kelly Causey, Grant Wesley, Craig Hagley. I mean, we got 2 races left. And some of these drivers are more than likely not going to be able to point their way into the playoffs. Every single one of these drivers have an opportunity, 2 opportunities that is, to win their way into the playoffs. But the downside of drivers that are able to make it into the playoffs is somebody is going to be left out. And it's going to be really interesting in these final 2 races to see who is going to be able to rise to the occasion, whether it's through consistency in these final 2 races or nabbing a last-minute checkered flag to get into this season 60 playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be exciting to watch. At this point, seeing all these people outside that you don't usually see outside the top 12, but it's going to be interesting to see if they can find the strength of the next couple of races to point the way back in.
Yeah, Chuck McClure was not in the field here tonight, as we saw. He drops to 18th in points. He is 3 points ahead of 20th in the standings cut line. Ken Roberts drops 2 spots in the standings, 28th in points heading into next week. He is currently, if my math is correct, 26 points now behind the cut line. So he's going to need 2 very, very good races at Talladega and back here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway to advance his way into the postseason. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility to say that he needs, if not a top 5 in the top 10, maybe even 2 top 5s to be able to accumulate enough points to get into the top 20, but only time will tell.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all to tune into our coverage here tonight from Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Rodney Sullins joins Brian Schilling as a multi-time winner here in Season 60 of the Talladega Challenge Series. We will cover all of the fallout, the updated bracket standings, and everything next week when we head to Talladega Superspeedway for race number 8. Again, that's going to be our final RTG broadcast until the beginning of the month of November. November the 9th is when we will be back. We are going to be missing the regular season finale and the first playoff race. I can guarantee you, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to be on Thursday night of that regular season finale, but I will be tuning in after the race is over to see what the point standings look like and who our playoff contenders are going to be. We've also got this Saturday night, the Talladega Nights Halloween special team race. Be sure to tune into that one. It is a very unique event. The point system is entirely different. The way that it works in terms of super speedway racing is kind of very far removed from what a super speedway racer's mentality is. You're not going to want to miss it. Should be an exciting one. But again, thank you for tuning to our coverage here tonight. And Michael, thank you for joining me up here in the booth. Been a blast.
Absolutely. Can't wait till the next time.
Absolutely. So for those that are joining us Saturday night, we'll see you in a couple of days' time. For those who are back here for our coverage of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series, we will see you in a week's time. But for Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.